On today's show, outdoor products made right here in Minnesota. Our tough environment means tough clothing needed. No problem if you know the guy who sews in this Duluth garage. Meet a decoy carver who earned a world's best title. And the colorful story behind this colorful outdoor gear.
Minnesota Bound, presented by Connecticut Water Treatment Systems.
Hey everybody, Laura and I welcome you to the show.
Today we are going to highlight a few of our favorite outdoor products made right here in Minnesota.
You know, that gear, it's almost like outdoor art, the stuff we love to own.
Up first, we're heading to a snowy part of Minnesota, the Lake Superior port town of Duluth,
where outdoor gear is made to match the tough environment.
Lake Superior life tends to bring out people's toughness, an eternal outdoor thread in a place that looks like this. Tucked away between early December snowdrifts, Kevin Kinney wakes up his workshop.
I am nuts. This is not what normal people do. I have been in this garage for 20 years. This is work, yeah. Sometimes I get out here at 4 in the morning when I wake up. I have no adult supervision. So some days are really productive, and other days I find myself making a tent at noon going, I should be making clothing.
By now, you probably understand that Kevin likes to sew. His business started with outdoor gear for people with disabilities.
Just a mitten you could open with zippers. Changed lives for the better, but never made a dime at it. One day this guy walked in with these funny looking mittens and this anorak, and he said, could you make these for me? And it was Dwayne Loddick from Empire Canvas Works. And I said, yeah. And he wrote me a check, which was phenomenal.
That guy, Dwayne Loddick, proprietor of Snow Trekker Tents and Empire Canvas. Dwayne needed to focus on building tents, so he and Kevin made a deal.
And I became Empire Canvas Works. We've probably turned out $2 million in product from this two-car garage. Today we are going to make what I'm calling a jack pine vest. And it is a vest made literally from a U.S. GI Army blanket.
Kevin loves to work with wool.
But wool is a wonderful fabric. I mean, sheep are not terribly smart, yet they survive.
After he cuts parts,
I anchor this little piece of PVC truck tarp material. Great stuff, super strong.
Kevin starts to sew.
Once around on the outside. Just for good measure, once more.
Now, Kevin drops the hammer.
This kind of pounding board has seen a bit of use. These wonderful rolled rim spurred stainless steel grommets. People say, how long does it take to make something? And I say 38, 39 years and a couple of hours.
Yes, Kevin's used a lifetime of trial and error to create his gear. Look around the garage. He also lives the outdoor lifestyle. Suppose that's why Kevin and his family live in Duluth.
There is just something about being up here and being so close to all of this fun 7 days a week. It's a fun machine.
Next, he sits at this complex-looking machine.
Basically, all it does is make edges clean and pretty. Now, this is a lifestyle business. I mean, I need to kind of live in the middle of it to make it work. When we have money, we make clothing. When we don't, we mow the lawn and go fishing. I am gonna put the snaps in this, and then it takes about 20 minutes to do the final assembly, and it becomes a vest.
Handcrafting meets art.
I wouldn't really call this clothing manufacturing just because it is so back and forth. It's such a process. If I had to say anything, I would say old school European craftsmanship. Probably a reason we haven't been knocked off that much. Yeah, What I've learned over the years is that if the wool has anything abrading against it, it's going to just tear itself apart in short order. So the draw cord on the bottom, or any of the draw cords that are on any other part of the garment, always pass through one of these little tunnels of nylons.
Kevin hopes others might better understand his craft, and maybe, more importantly, his passion.
In large part, we as a country don't know how our clothing gets made, and I absolutely love what I do. It is my hobby, my life, my passion.
It is the thread of a Northwoods sewer.
Minnesota Bound is brought to you by Connecticut Water Treatment Systems, Rapala, Star Bank, and by Ice Castle Fish Houses.
Decoy carving is a hobby to some, but turning that hobby into a world champion title, well, that takes chipping away to perfection. For the love of ducks and woodworking, Tom Fleming started to carve.
I started when I was 12 years old. Grew up on a dairy farm just outside of Cosmos, Minnesota. So my dad had all the woodworking tools, building things, birdhouses, benches, always nailing boards together, cutting things out. So at a very young age, we were making things out of wood. I was 12 years old, asked for carving tools for Christmas.
It was also the beginning of a lifelong passion.
Well, I moved down to the Twin Cities and I seeked out if any carving clubs were around, and I ended up getting pushed in the direction of the Minnesota Decoy and Wildflower Carving Club.
Tom says meeting other carvers made his artist talents grow.
I think I've been lucky along the way of meeting the right people that showed me how and got me started. So I made a decoy and went to my first competition at a national show, and I thought it was the best thing I've ever made or ever could make, and ended up not placing. It was disappointing, but it kind of drove me to work harder.
Today, Tom is a three-time world decoy carving champion. Turning a block of wood into a feathered creature that looks so real, it might just fly away.
Well, at the World Championships, they judge on three basic things: the sculpture itself, for the shapes, anatomy, colors, and then flotation. I carved a rig of redheads and ended up getting second in the world in 2010. And then it's like, wow, I gotta get better. So in 2011, I finally won the World Championship, my first one with long-tail ducks.
A bittersweet win, considering the man and his inspiration for getting started wasn't there to see it.
It was amazing. I lost my dad the year before, so putting hard work in. Wish he was here, but I think he knows.
Also amazing is the transformation of a chunk of wood into a lifelike duck.
So here's a stockpile of Tupelo wood I have on hand for creating decoys. It's very lightweight. I also use white cedar wood for my working decoys. First thing I do is draw a pattern of a duck. So here's the side profile of a mallard, and then the top profile. When I'm done carving them, I'll take it apart and then hollow it out.
Next, the real transformation begins.
It comes down to colors. They have to look real out in the outdoors. So when I'm painting in my studio here, then I'll go outside, look at them in a sunny day, look at them in a cloudy day. Neighbors probably think I'm nuts, what's he doing out there? But I'm getting the colors where I need to get them, because it's very important. And everyone has their different style. I always start painting from the tail to the bill. All these little squiggly lines are vermiculation. That's what they're called on a duck. And how I make them is it's a metal comb. So I'll put a heavy base of paint on there, and then I'll comb through it.
Yes, his flock of carved birds do fly above the rest.
This is 2016 Best in World Shooting Rig, a challenging piece that was fun to do.
Fun, yes, but there's no quit in this Carver.
And then I'm already working ahead here. That's what happens when kids go off to college. I look at it as my retirement plan.
Still ahead, the story of a longtime fishing rod builder. But first, the colorful tale behind Dan Cooke's iconic outdoor gear.
Closed captioning is brought to you by Cass Lake Chain of Resorts.
One of my biggest outdoor mentors also happens to be one of Minnesota's biggest outdoor gear guys. It's time you meet Dan Cooke.
When hardcore campers trudge off the grid, they count on gear. Stuff must work.
Rarely do I bring a repair kit. You just know what's going to work.
Call Dan Cooke the beard behind the brand, proprietor of colorful camping gear.
Now I can't shave, because that's the long-haired dude over there. The guy that looks like Santa Claus.
To understand Dan's story is to visit his quiet Minnesota home and head for the basement.
As my friends jokingly say, the world headquarters of Cooke Custom Sewing. So we make all sorts of stuff. Utensil roll-ups, griddle bags, stuff sacks, rucksacks and guide packs, barrel packs. And this is a fairly unique pack. It's all of 8 ounces. Mucklucks that are used for winter camping. These have been to the North and South Pole.
All your stuff, I've always noticed, is very colorful.
Yes. And the reason for that is it shows up on the end of the portage. When you lay it down, you can find it. You're not questioning, where'd the green pack go?
That's the function. But colors can be fun too.
You want to remember your trip. If pictures are dull and boring, it's hard to show your friends. It looks far beyond a hobby.
Oh, it is. Camping gear has consumed Dan and his wife for the better part of 40 years. Cooke's Custom Sewing. And to think, sewing is just a side gig.
But I design automated inspection equipment by day. Occasionally let me pull a whistle.
Yep, an engineer by day, a gear guy by night.
All of our fabric here on racks and stored underneath the table and everywhere we can fit it.
Dan's production process starts with a pattern.
We have patterns of all the packs. This is the canoe skirt patterns up here. There's over 100 canoe skirt patterns. We use every inch of the place. It's pretty crazy.
Actually, what's really crazy, Dan had zero formal training. See, way back, Dan bought a car. A very cool car.
I decided to change the color of the exterior, which meant I had to change the color of the interior.
So, he borrowed his shop teacher's machine. He started sewing and whipped up a new blue interior.
That's how I learned.
Dan eventually joined sewing and his other great passion, the outdoors.
This one I was going to some gentleman in Canada.
Cooke's Custom Sewing was born. Even now, Dan and his wife sew as the orders come in, and there are plenty.
So this will become one of our insulated food packs.
Dan cuts fabric on the table on the left there. He sews all the pack pieces together. Every time he completes a piece, he creates new memories for somebody out there.
There's something about having done it with your own hands and having someone come up and say, I used your equipment, you made my experience better. That's what keeps me in it.
It's the perfection of simple packs and gear that endures 40 years and counting.
A pack is a necessary evil. No one goes on a trip to carry a pack. Less is better. You can stuff them, you can beat on them, you can use them, and they just work.
Straight ahead, a Minnesota-bound classic. We're talking about the gentleman who builds these fishing rods.
Minnesota Bound is brought to you by Treasure Island Resort and Casino, Hewitt Docks Lifts and Pontoon Lakes, and by Totem Resorts, the premier destination for world-class fishing.
Today's show is all about our favorite small, made in Minnesota outdoor gear businesses.
Up next, Ron Shera meets a truly one-of-a-kind fishing rod maker.
The Wild Goose Sports Shop in Rochester, Minnesota, you might say, is very Minnesota typical. A few stuffed wish fish on the walls. Lots of fishing stuff on the shelves. And live minnows by the dozen. But that's not everything the Wild Goose offers. It may be the only tackle store in Minnesota with a resident legend. That's him over there, in his corner of the store. Mel Dickie, master fishing rod maker. Well, sort of. Mel the legend is more like a fishing rod artist.
Now I'll put the thread right on the rod, and you actually don't have to use the table to do it. You can, after you've done it 1,000 times, you can just attach your thread to the rod like this with a piece of tape, and then I'll put multiple threads on at a time, and I can change this wrap into a fish or an eagle or a diamond or rosebud or whatever kind of pattern I want to put on here. See, I'm working with 4 strands on one spool, and I can build where they cross into a diamond shape.
As he works, perhaps you noticed what I noticed, what everyone sees.
That's a steady hand you got there, Mel.
Thank you. They're old hands. They've been doing it a number of years.
Mel has been renting this corner from the owner of Wild Goose for more than 25 years now.
He is one of the most honest, trusting individuals that I've ever met in my life. I've got nothing but respect for the man and envy for what he can do on those rods.
But there's more you should know about Mel Dickie. You should know Mel shows up for work 3 to 4 days a week. If he's not in the store, he's a substitute math and science teacher in Rochester schools.
That was my field in college. And I started rod building and teaching kids and adult classes in how to build their own rods. Matter of fact, I enjoy teaching others to do it more than I do making a rod and selling it.
That's a pretty busy schedule. Mel the legend is 94 years old.
You know, I learned it pretty much by making all of my own mistakes.
Howdy, Mel. How are you this morning?
Good.
Good.
What can I do for you?
I got a broken tip here, Mel.
Mike Fisher is one of Mel's rod-making students. He's a youngster. He's only 78.
So you work every day here alongside Mel?
Yes, sir. 6 days a week.
Are you an employee or independent, just partner here?
Yes.
So there you have it. In their own little corner of the Wild Goose bait shop, Mel and Mike toil as fishing rod artists to please the palate of serious anglers everywhere.
Great story. Sadly, we lost Mel. According to the newspaper obituary, he died 8 hours short of his 100th birthday party.
You can imagine the celebration he got in heaven.
Absolutely. Well, that about does it for us. We hope to see you back here next week.
In the meantime, don't forget to introduce a kid to the great outdoors.
Transportation provided by Premier Transportation. Call 1-800-899-7433.